Welcome to Roses in Conversation. My name is BK, and as you can see, Roses is not sitting on this seat today. I've got the pleasure of spending some time with her and asking her a few questions. Welcome, Rose.
Thank you.
Welcome to your show.
Thank you.
It's so great to see you. You look absolutely stunning.
Thank you.
So I want us to talk around the events that has happened in your life. It's so great for everybody who actually supports you and follows you on social media to get to know who you really are. You know, who is Roses in Conversation? So I've got a couple of questions that some came from our audience and some I've been meaning to ask myself.
Okay.
I will just dive in. Today is actually the 29th, and we know that on the 29th of July, 5 years ago, you encountered some tragedy in your life.
Yeah.
Before we get to the softer things, let's get the hard part out of the way. Is that fine?
Yeah. 5 years ago, I woke up one morning and had plans. You know, I was a wife and a mother, and I had plans with my husband. And, you know, he attended an event and did not come back home, per se. So 5 years today is the day that I look back and I remember the horrifying scene of seeing your loved one lifeless. I remember the moment where I looked at the entire car accident scene because it was tragic, and then thinking that my life has just changed forever. Okay. So it's such a horrible remembrance as well because it's in the middle of our kids' birthdays. You know, days before is the young one and days after is the older one. So today I look back on what tragedy has done to me and what has caused, I guess, the creation of Roses in Conversation.
Okay, very profound. So let's take it a step back.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Roses, the young wife. Just a brief young wife. I want to hear a little bit about your husband until the tragic end of his life.
I love telling the story because I think growing up, marriage has always been the get out of the poor community getaway cart, if I could put it like that. And I think being raised with love in a different way, I experienced love a different way. So when you meet someone and they want to commit to you and they take you seriously, it's sort of it's like this process that the parents expect us to have. You know, you get out of school, you get married, you get a house, and so I felt like my life is following in that order. I felt blessed. I felt highly favored that, you know, I'm a 21-year-old bride, and now I have a husband, I have kids, I have a home. I felt that it was complete. It was complete. I met him immediately after I matriculated, and it took him a couple of months, and he just knew I was the one.
Oh, that's such a beautiful love story. So now you spoke earlier on about being at the scene of the accident. I want you to take us through what changed immediately when you returned home or from the hospital after that scene. What is the one thing that changed indefinitely in your life, apart from the fact that the person that you love is gone?
I can recall that scene as if it was yesterday. It breaks me so much. I received a call from a stranger saying that your husband just had an accident and we don't know whether he's dead or alive. So when I get in the car driving to the scene, I don't know what to expect. I'm just driving there.
Where are the kids in this whole mess that you're going through? Where are the kids?
You know, BK, that moment, my 4-year-old is sleeping. My soon-to-be 9-year-old is sleeping.
Yeah.
There is no thought in my head about what I'm doing. As soon as I received that call, something said, just drive, go there and see what's going on. And I drove there. I was barefoot. I was still with the clothes that I sleep with. And there's this sense of relief when you get into an accident scene and there is no ambulance. So, I was
sense of hope.
The sense of hope, because now it means he's gone to the hospital, he'll be taken care of, and I can see him. And when you are told that, oh, I'm sorry, that's not the situation. That I don't think I heard anyone saying anything after that. That was completely blank. And I thank God that there was a thought that said, you left kids at home. And I could not carry on in that. They gave me his wallet and his watch, and that's somewhat, it's a confirmation. It's really him.
Yeah. And
I just drove home. And I thought, can I wake up from this nightmare already?
Which leads to my next question, because how was the very first day without him, and having experienced everything that you did the previous night? Did you even sleep, and who was there with you? Because now it leads to the question of later on of supporting the Black community when you have lost a husband at such a young age. What happened the next day?
I don't know what I would do without support of family and friends, because I think at that moment I dreaded making the phone calls.
Yeah.
I dreaded making the phone calls because I don't even think I realized that I had lost in that moment. I was more worried about siblings. I was more worried about his friends. I was more worried about his colleagues, his family. So I was dreading making the phone calls that this just happened. And I recall the scene because a friend of mine had visited me that day, and she had just left 2 or 3 hours before. And when I called her, she just said, no, don't joke like that, And I think with this entire process, I'll honestly just say it does not click in my head that he's gone. There is a sense of, oh, he's coming back.
Still 5 years later.
Yeah.
So, Roses, tell us, you have, before we get back again to the question of your late husband, Roses in Conversation, is that an organization that's dedicated to you and him, your legacy with the kids, or is it an organization as well to just uplift and help women? Because you don't get to speak to a lot of young widows.
I think the misconception is there's no such thing as a young widow. The misconception is that you lose your husband when you're older, because that's what we grew up with.
Yes.
Your uncle has passed on and they're in their 50s and their 60s, and we forget that even though we're getting married young, circumstances happen, and it happened to me, and that is what I could not speak about because I could not relate with anyone my age. I was a 27-year-old widow. 27-year-old friends were getting married.
Yes.
My journey was different, and I felt that at the current stage that I'm in, to talk with others, I felt that's what I needed at the time. So Roses in Conversation is a platform to say, let's talk. You may not feel comfortable to talk to a friend, to a sibling, to a professional, but let's start the conversation so that we know which kind of help we can give or direct you to.
Okay, so now going back to the process of the whole burial, this is now the first time you're traveling to KZN without your husband.
Yeah, that was...
Take us through that.
That was an experience because I think because we were so close, we would not go anywhere without the other one tagging along. He would take me everywhere, I would take him everywhere, and this time it was different because he's in a coffin and he's leading me. And when I get there, the first thing I think of is I need to dish up for him because he loves my food. But you get there and everything is totally different. The focus is on me and how I'm feeling, and that's overwhelming. And it's also confusing because you want the support, but you don't want people around you. It's more of a leave me alone, but don't leave me alone. It's quite a strange feeling, and you want to be alone to process these thoughts and this circumstance. And start planning your life, because at that moment you're like, what am I going to do? Because I don't know who I am as a woman without him. I don't know myself as a mother without him. So where do I start? And how do I raise kids without a father? How am I going to replace him or take his duties because he's not here anymore?
And the journey when you left him behind after the burial, take us through that. How was it? What were you feeling? Were you feeling anything? Who was by your side?
I never understood why people spoke about closure. And having to see a person on Saturday and they are okay, and then on Sunday they are lifeless. That is, it's different. So for me because of the magnitude of his injuries, he was not allowed to be seen in the coffin. But I still had to identify that we are taking the right body. And it's so hard to refer to the person you love as a body, you know. But I had to go there and I had to look at him one last time, because we were not going to do that when the coffin gets home. So that it was not closure, but it was an understanding that it's really him.
Yeah.
It's really him.
Does the mourning ever end? Does it end the minute you leave the body at the graveyard? Or does it go on for a long time after that?
Culturally, we've been accustomed to wearing black or navy, or depending on what type of culture you're in or you're married into. I mean, and this is a yearly process, you know, that comes with its own rules, and that I don't agree with most of them. But it does not do anything to how you're feeling. It does not help you or make you any better. I could wear these clothes for 5 years. I could still be wearing them today. It does not change the fact that last night I had to calm myself down, because I know that a few minutes after midnight was the time he took his last breath. So the mourning, does it end? I can't say yes or no, but you don't forget a person. There's so much to remember about him. There's so much to remember about the life we built, and the kids we have will always be a constant reminder as well. And I am Rose Shabalala, so wherever I go, that surname will always represent him in any way.
Wow. Very heartfelt. So I want us to talk about leaving KZN without him and coming back to Johannesburg. And having to start basically a new life without this man and without the love of your life. We've talked extensively, and you've alluded to the fact that you also had to move out of your home. Didn't that bring back everything that you had been through already?
Definitely. Change is a painful thing in anyone's life. And I think for me it was hard to stay where we're staying, because there's no protection anymore. A miss have been protected because you know you have a man in the house, and that was not there anymore. But also the area was too painful. The shops we go to, the restaurants we go to, the things we do, that my surroundings were too painful to actually live through every single day of my life. And I just had to get out of that, because change was required. And I had to, like I said, I don't know who I am as a mother and as a wife without him. So I need to remove those titles and find me, so that I can understand who I am as a woman and as a mother without him. So the change, the movement was necessary. Painful, but necessary.
You also, you know, when we go through pain and we've got the support of friends and families, it is a little bit comforting regardless of what we're going through. There was a point in your life where everybody had gone, because people need to go back to their homes. So how did you cope with that, and what type of support did you sort out for yourself, apart from obviously friends and families? Who did you lean on?
This was a tough one because everyone is in the house and everyone knows what to do. People are baking, they're serving tea and all of those things. But at the end of the day, everyone has to go back to their lives. And this is now my life. This is now my life, the empty house. And he was a loud, bubbly person, but this is now my life. And I had to adjust to that. How did I? I was not coping. I resorted to alcohol because it made me pass out, and that made me comfortable because I can't sleep. So passing out is comfortable because then I don't have to think about anything that's happening. You are literally just out and you wake up in the morning and get on about it. So I think I learned throughout the years that through the healing process, there is a sense of addiction that you hang on to that helps you feel better. Some people it's shopping or anything like that. For me, it was alcohol. And now with the healing, I had to learn the things I was doing wrong, telling myself that I'm healing. It's the hardest thing ever. But I found myself going through all these stages of healing and actually saw where I was doing wrong, what I was doing wrong, and how to stop, how to minimize, how to change all of that.
And the transition for the kids. How it was not only you who got affected, it wasn't his family, your family, friends and acquaintances, the children. How was the transitioning for them?
My son was not old enough to understand what's happening, but obviously he can see that I don't see my father anymore and he would ask for him. My daughter was old enough to understand what death is. And I remember I still had my son in my arms sitting on the couch, and the house was already starting to get flooded with people. And she woke up and she's amazed that, oh, my grandmother's here, my grandfather's here, and all of those things. And I asked her to come to me, and as she sat down, I said, your father's gone to heaven. She was numb. She couldn't move because I think then that's when people noticed her. And then they wanted to hug her and all of that. And she was just numb. I don't know as a 9-year-old to be, what's happening or what's going on in her head. But I know she understood that my father's not coming back. And I can't take away that experience from her at all.
So losing your husband and telling the story actually sounds so painful. I cannot imagine what you had to go through. What are some of the changes that came with it, the daily changes that came with it? I just want you to give us a high-level overview of
routine changes. Being a person who loves to cook, you don't feel like cooking anymore because he's not there. I remember the first week or so going back to work. When I got there, the realization that I have no one to tell that I've arrived safely. I know it sounds stupid to a lot of people, but you get used to the routine. You know, you're stuck in traffic, it's raining and you're scared, and I'm scared of lightning, but you have no one to call because it just doesn't sound right. Thank you. So it's the little things that we don't actually get to appreciate even when a person is still alive, when you're in a relationship. But when they're gone, you realize it's the small things that you miss. The checking on you, have you had lunch? You know, you fear having some experience on the road, tragically or anything like that, accidents, and who is on your speed dial? Who's your go-to person. And my routine had to change a lot, and obviously thinking about the future is now one person down. Your finances are now one salary down. That's overwhelming.
Wow. If Spa was here today, what would you say to him?
Him and I were just best friends. Him and I were true best friends and a true reflection of what God's love is, and we were that to other people. So what I would say to him, I mean, I hope I'm doing good with the kids.
You're doing very good with the kids.
Yeah. Not much.
You had to reintegrate back into society as a whole, and also back into the world of dating. You lost your husband at a very young age. Some people start dating at the age that you lost your partner. So how has it been? Have you integrated back into the dating scene? Is it difficult having been such a young widow?
I would say it's challenging and it's different, because I think at the age of 19, dating was a different world.
Absolutely.
Different scene, even with communication technology. It was different back then, and I think what I expected from a relationship back then is totally different now. When you're straight out of matric, you just want attention and attention and attention, and for someone to tell you they love you all the time. Right now, I'm looking for something different, and I'm glad that in the healing journey, I've actually realized that I don't need someone to complete me. I just need someone to accompany me in everything I do in my life. So yeah, I mean, I haven't quit on love. I still believe in it completely. I would not be a Christian woman if I didn't. I believe wholeheartedly, and I know it's not good for men to be alone. So obviously, that definitely, I can't be alone forever. It will come.
Having met your husband at such a tender age, dating was quite different, like you mentioned. How are things now, according to, in your view, how's the dating game, and do you think society, especially social media, plays a pivotal role in dating?
It plays such a pivotal role, but it's so negative. I hate the narrative that is going around right now, but it's not for me to judge. We have different requirements, and I'm sorry to sound professional, when it comes to a relationship. So I think there comes a time where I'm like, I miss being married. It's just the talking stages and things that I don't want to get into are just overwhelming. And I think, but I know what I want. So as soon as God sends it my way, I'm ready.
Absolutely, absolutely. Roses, thank you so much for opening up.
Yeah.
Roses in Conversation is such a great foundation. I think it does not only support widows, it also supports women in general, men in general, children. You are doing such an amazing job, and I'm so glad that you've taken your time to dedicate your life to empowering other people and to including all of us in your life. Thank you so much. It's been great.
Thank you.